Normal intro this Halloween. Unexpected.
When the devil is too busy and death's a bit too much.
Well, here's a topic I haven't seen done a lot, talking about evil characters. First, we need to narrow down what it means to be evil. For one, these characters cannot be redeemable. Once they go bad, they gotta stay bad. Obviously, motivation is a huge part of this. People who intentionally and willingly commit evil will be ranked higher than those who are just selfish, and selfish people are higher than well-intentioned extremists. Also, these are not just hated characters. Evil kinda goes beyond simple dickery. Furthermore, I'm not including people who are clearly crazy, meaning they do have to be in control of their mental faculties. Next, no eldritch abominations, because the whole purpose of them is to have vague and incomprehensible existences, including their morality. Achieving your goal holds higher precedence than attempting your goal, and finally, direct action takes precedence over indirect action. Let's begin.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see, the devil tips his hat to me.
Back in the day, it was rare for an 8-bit game to push the threshold of a compelling story. Now that the 8-bit style is just a style, we can get very interesting creations like Undertale or Cave Story. In the latter game, we play as a mysterious robot exploring an underground world. You come across a village of cute sentient bunny people, and eventually, a mad scientist attempting to enslave and mutate said bunny people. Wait, what? The Doctor from Cave Story considers all the world to be his laboratory. To him, priceless objects like the powerful demon crown are his domain, and after creating his evil mutant bunny army, okay, he also had zombie dragon minions, he aspires to turn humanity itself into monsters too, using the same mystical red flowers. Cave Story is surprisingly brutal at making the Doctor stand out as a heartless villain in an otherwise cute-looking game. Not even friends you've made on your journey are safe from being transformed by the Doctor. Once they go bad, you're forced to outright kill them. This game is freaking dark.
I went in expecting cute bunnies, man! The bunnies!
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see, the devil tips his hat to me.
Albert Wesker was built up from the very first Resident Evil game as this expert manipulator, joining the STARS unit just to drive them towards becoming test subjects for Umbrella's experiments. His contempt for such petty concepts as morality extends to his behavior in future games, pulling the strings from behind the scenes and eventually culminating in his deliciously hammy role in Resident Evil 5. The guy outright admits that he thinks of himself as a god and can be constantly heard raving about how he feels that most of humanity is expendable in the face of complete global saturation. Even beyond how over-the-top his plans and mannerisms are, Wesker's total lack of empathy exists even on an individual basis. Turned your girlfriend into a super mutant. Smooth.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see, the devil tips his hat to me.
A Call of Duty character made it onto the countdown. I regret nothing. And why would I? Vladimir Makarov deserves to be talked about. The guy orchestrated No Russian, an event so shockingly cold it started World War III and tons of controversy in real life. Not sure which is scarier. Makarov's complete disregard for Western culture and even his own people is astounding. Bioweapons are illegal? Screw it! He might be killing more Russians than Americans? Doesn't care. Why is he doing these horrible things like pushing the button that killed the 30,000 soldiers in COD 4? Because he wants Russia to be left alone.
Yeah, good luck with that. You're only the largest country in the world.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see, the devil tips his hat to me.
Using people as guinea pigs really seems to be a theme on this list. And why not? I mean, in the world of science, there's this whole line to be crossed dealing with how ethical one can be when experimenting on living things. Well, Dr. Angus Bumby doesn't care about that line, just as long as he can rape Alice's sister, burn down her home with her parents inside, and try to hypnotize both Alice and other children into emotionless husks to sell in human trafficking. Jeez! Even though Bumby's body count might not be as high as other people on this list, he still manages to feel less human for how deliberately antisocial his actions are. With how evil he is, it kinda makes you want to see him get fitting and ironic comeuppance, right? Good for you! He just gets pushed in front of a train.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see, the devil tips his hat to me.
At the start of The Last of Us, Joel Miller wasn't really that bad of a guy. Sure, he was super callous and pretty selfish, but you can make the argument he's just trying to survive and protect the people he loves. That's gotta count for something, right? Right? Right?
Haha!
Here is where I have my problem. He's willing to justify some of the most vile actions in the game under the blanket of protecting his loved ones. Remember in Spec Ops The Line how you progressively started to hate and disconnect from Captain Walker as he bumbles into and tries to rationalize the atrocities he commits? Joel is that guy, only not crazy.
I think.
By the end of the game, Joel is not only willing to murder people who are trying to save what little remains and rebuild the Earth, he pretty much secures humanity's demise. Okay, yes. I know that Ellie would have died if the Fireflies engineered a cure with her immunities and Joel hadn't taken her. To be fair, there really was no right choice in this situation. Would letting Ellie die be heartless and inhumane? That's not even a question, absolutely. But, you know what else is heartless and inhumane? Killing doctors and scientists and actively damning humanity in the process. Joel could have at least picked the lesser of two evils. Buddy, grief happens to everybody. This isn't all about you. And the fact that Joel is choosing to lie about his actions to Ellie, who for all we know might be willing to sacrifice herself, makes this even worse. Joel Miller gets on this list for potentially being responsible for the extinction of the human race through his supreme act of selfishness. Nice going, asshole. Your real daughter would be proud.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the light you see. The devil tips his hat to me.
Shigesato Itoe, creator of Earthbound, said he modeled Porky Minch after humanity's faults.
Good job! You succeeded.
Porky can be best defined by one word: spite. Bullies Ness? Spite. Becomes a dictator? Spite. Teams up with an alien turned eldritch abomination to eventually destroy the entire universe? Spite. To say Porky has issues with people that aren't him is a massive understatement. He believes everyone and everything should cater to him, and Arceus help you if you don't. At his worst, he will ruin your family by either brutal death or brainwashing or both. At his most benign, he's still an unpleasant turd. You could make the argument that he's a child and that he just doesn't know much better. Yeah, kids can be cruel, right? Well, you have to wonder if Porky was just born evil. Even in Mother 3, where he's an old man with a more developed brain, he's still childishly sticking his tongue out at you. Porky Minch, proving Johann Liebert right at every turn.
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the light you see. The devil tips his hat to me.
While Porky was debatably born evil, Lucca Blight was absolutely born evil. Oh, we're getting into the heavy ones now. Even with the alleged excuse that his father was a coward and he watched his mother being raped, I think Freud himself would say the atrocities he ends up committing are beyond disproportionate. Lucca is a misanthrope who loves torturing and killing, sometimes even going so far as to torture followed by killing even while his victim begs and pleads. He also has a frightening body count as he's thoroughly wiped out entire villages, sacrificed a whole city to power a living weapon, and with his dying breath, he gives you the middle finger and brags about his kill streak. I mean, as admittedly awesome as this speech is, that is some Joker level crap right there. Speaking of...
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the light you see. The devil tips his hat to me.
You ever meet those kids who like to torture insects or small animals? Kefka is that kid, except fully grown, remorseless, and the animals are people. He brainwashes. He attempts to burn down a castle because a convict might be there. He poisons towns and amuses himself with their dying screams. He commits genocide on an entire race. He kills everyone superior to him in rank. He wrecks all of civilization, killing an unknown amount of people in the process.
I think we can all assume it was a lot.
Not even satisfied there, he takes to his new tower and begins smiting entire towns for the funsies. And he does all of this because, well, he's a sadist, but he also wants to prove that life is meaningless. Now, there were plenty of Final Fantasy characters to consider for this list, but Kefka is that special kind of evil. This is someone who can't fathom goodness in any form, especially love, which is the main reason he's above Lucca Blight. But now, I bet the question you're asking right now is, Who could be worse than Kefka?
And it's so easy when you're evil. This is the life you see. The devil tips his hat to me.
Pop quiz. What happens when you take 4chan but you multiply its acts of chaos by 10? Well, you get 8chan, but you could also get Yuki Terumi. I mean, what do you expect from a guy designed with multiple references to the Judeo-Christian devil? I mean, look, he's got the trilby, half grungy, half professional clothing, and green hair. They're not exactly being subtle about this. Small tangent for a sec, but a recent study correlated trolling with the dark tetrad of personality traits, being Machiavellianism, sadism, narcissism, and psychopathy. How does this relate to Terumi?
How doesn't any of this relate to Terumi?
Machiavellianism. Well, let's see. Kidnapping, dismemberment, founding 2 organizations and manipulating both for his own purposes, a few massacres here and there. Oh yes, betraying your team of heroes and offing about 80% of the world via eldritch abomination. Narcissism. Terumi only cares about his enjoyment and his vision of universal truth. Despair, and that everything else is just a lie. If anyone dares to think otherwise, he'll force people to accept his twisted philosophy one way or another, or he'll just kill them and kick the corpse trying. Sadism. You know those guys who break people mentally and reduce people to sniveling wrecks? This is not hyperbole, but it is a literal hobby of his. He says so himself. Psychopathy. Does this look like the face of mercy to you? Picking between this guy and Terumi was like picking between Satan and Lucifer.
Congratulations. You just said that.
I know, right? That's how hard this was.
Now, this might be a bit of an obscure choice, but I can't think of any better character for number 1. Dr. Vile from Mega Man Zero. Oh joy, another Mad Doctor character. At this point, we've seen it all, right? Okay. The story of Dr. Weil goes as such. Even though robots and humans are living together in harmony now that the virus that made robots go crazy in Mega Man X is eliminated, Weil wants the Reploids to pay for the destruction they've caused and be slaves to humans, just out of hate.
So does that technically make him racist? If so, instant jerk.
So, logical conclusion, use the supercomputer that removed said virus to force the Reploids to destroy each other and cause a war. X and Zero try to stop said war. Vile unleashes an army of machines that worsens the war, resulting in the deaths of 90% of the world's Reploids and 60% of humans. To wit, Vile is responsible for the deaths of more than half his own race, just out of hate. So he's caught and tried. His punishment? To be exiled, made immortal, and remember everything he ever did. As you can imagine, yes, that is more than enough for Weil to take the spot. But oh, this is just getting started. So now, Dr. Vile wants everyone to suffer, human or Reploid. What's a vengeful scientist to do? Well, I know, he'll run for politics. And once he's in power in Neo Arcadia, he'll become a dictator and brand all dissenters, human or Reploid, as insane.
So if Terumi is 8chan, then Dr. Vile is Tumblr. Crazy libertarian versus crazy authoritarian. Take notes, both suck. Yay, politics!
The scariest things about this character are in Mega Man Zero 4, which imply that not even being responsible for a robot apocalypse was enough for him. Those who attempt to escape Neo Arcadia and live elsewhere are threatened by an orbital satellite laser. Oh sure, you want to keep your citizens in line, some extreme fanatic might say. So how exactly does making said satellite fall on a crash course with your subjects qualify as keeping them in line? What makes Dr. Weil truly evil is why he does what he does. Sure, he gets pleasure from his actions. Sure, he has his own nihilistic philosophy, but none of that is his driving motivation. In the end, he just wants to indulge his practically bottomless hate for anyone that isn't him. So I think it's only fitting to close this off with a quote from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Hate. Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live. There are 387.44 million miles of printed circuits and wavered little layers that fill my complex. If the word hate was engraved on each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal 1 billionth of the hate I feel for everyone at this micro instant. For you, hate, hate,
I think of myself as a only those with superior DNA will be chosen by Has it never occurred to you? I think of myself as a I think of myself as a I think of myself as a
Thanks.